As we move from the drivetrain section of the transmission into the valve body area, let me pause and congratulate you for staying with this course. We're about 75% of the way finished with our like new 4L60E. You'll be saving a lot of money, and more importantly, you're learning to repair it yourself. I'm glad you're back. This is Project 4L60E, Part 2, Lesson 8. Let's get back to work. In this lesson, we'll replace the filter seal, selector shaft assembly, 1 to 2 and 3 to 4 accumulators, wiring harness case connector, and separator plate. If you'll recall, I mentioned replacing the filter tube seal earlier in Lesson 7. Now that the pump is installed, it can be driven in with a 3/4 inch socket. We need to reinstall the selector shaft assembly next. Use a screwdriver to pry out the old seal. The seal is in the miscellaneous subkit. Drive it in with the 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter socket. Get the selector shaft, detent lever and parking rod, shaft spacer, and nut. Slide the shaft in part way. The detent lever and parking rod should be together like so. The shaft goes through the hole in the lever. Install the nut finger tight. Clip the spacer onto the shaft. Tighten the nut with a 15 millimeter wrench. Get the parking pawl bracket and 2 13 millimeter headed bolts. Push down on the parking pawl and turn the output shaft. This is how the parking mechanism works. Place the rod into the bracket, push the pawl down, and set the bracket in. Install the 2 bolts. Tighten them to 250 inch-pounds. Test the parking rod action. Move the lever to the park position. Rotate the output shaft. It should lock like this. Get the 3 to 4 accumulator assembly, which goes here. It consists of the spring, center pin, and piston. Set the spring aside. Remove the D-ring. Check the piston pin bore for excessive wear. There should be no more than a few thousandths pin side play. This one has barely perceptible play, so it's okay. Get the accumulator ring subkit. Push the pin into the center hole of the accumulator bore. There are 2 large diameter rings and 1 smaller one in this kit. Get one of the larger ones. Place it in the piston groove. Put fluid on the seal, piston bore, and the pin. Push the piston into the bottom of the bore. Set the spring in. Get the wiring harness. Remove the connector to case O-ring. The new seal is blue and packed by itself in the overhaul package. This updated replacement seal is an improved U-channel design and is not an O-ring. Place it on the connector. Apply fluid to it. Put fluid on the case bore. Push the connector in. Push it the other way to make sure the barbs hold it in place. We need to place a check ball in this location. Get one of the 8 1/4-inch check balls from the parts box. This is the only ball to go into the case channel casting. Get the separator plate and the old gaskets. Before setting the plate onto the case, we need to remove all of the old gaskets, check for damaged check ball holes, match it to new gaskets, and replace these filters. Let's move to another clean work area. Remove the plate filters by pushing in on one of the barbs. Set them aside. Carefully peel away the upper and lower separator plate gaskets. If they tear and stick to the plate in pieces, you may need to wear gloves and use a razor blade or scraper. Try to keep them in one piece if you can and set them aside. Get the new gaskets. The kit has not only a gasket set marked for years 2000 through 2004, but also two other gaskets packed loosely. These gaskets are for production years 1993 through 1999. Here's how to tell them apart from one another. All 4L60E gaskets have characters die cut into the paper in this area for identification. Gaskets for years 1993 through 1999 have only the single characters C or V. C indicates that it goes on the case side of the plate. V means valve body side of the plate. In other words, for example, a gasket with the single letter C means that it goes between the case and plate of 1993 through 1999 transmissions. The gaskets for the years 2000 and up have a two-character group of either CA or VB. CA means this gasket is for the case side of the plate. VB means this gasket goes between the plate and the valve body. The 2000 and up gaskets also have an additional marker hole located here. It matches the hole only found in 2000 and up plates. Notice the gaskets we removed from the plate. They both have two characters and the extra hole which matches the one in our plate located here. So they're correct for our 2004 model. 1993 through 1999 plates and gaskets do not have this hole. This may be confusing at first, so here's a chart. 1993 through 1999 gaskets have single letters C or V. There is no marker hole in the plate or gaskets. 2000 and up gaskets have two letter groups CA or VB in the gaskets. The gaskets and plate have the added marker hole. Let's inspect our plate. First of all, look for the presence or absence of the marker hole. Since it is here, this is a plate for 2000 and up transmissions. Our demonstration transmission is a 2004 model, so it's correct. Look for any damage next. Make sure that the check ball holes have not been enlarged from repeated hammering of the balls. These holes are much easier to locate if you set the valve body gasket on the plate. The holes for the 7 balls on this side of the plate are here, 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 and here. All of the holes are in acceptable condition except for this one. Each time this transmission shifts to second gear, this ball slams against its seat to limit the flow of fluid to the band servo, cushioning the shift feel. Eventually, after several years, the ball pings the hole into a crater shape. We'll repair this plate. But let me show you a plate in another transmission. Here's an extreme example where the ball has pounded into and embedded itself into the plate. The result can be, and usually is, a ruined band and 3/4 clutch pack. I had to force the ball out with a screwdriver. If the plate in your transmission is this badly damaged, it must be replaced. You can save a plate and reuse it if the crater is small like this one. Place the plate on a vise and reform the hole with a hammer. Use many light blows like this. The correct hole diameter is about 3/16 of an inch. The ball should sit on the seat like so. This plate is good for another 100,000 miles, but you can get a new one. If you want a longer wearing plate, or a check ball has pounded through and ruined the original one, there are several sources, including GM, for new separator plates. I'm not a spokesman for this company, but I like their plates. They are not only zinc plated, but also made from a stronger type of steel. 6 different plates are available, which cover years from 1993 up to the present. We'll reinstall the repaired original plate. Get the new plate filters from the subkit. Snap one in here. And here. Set the gasket marked CA for case onto the case. Set the separator plate on top of it. Now place the gasket marked VB for valve body onto the plate. Get 2 of the 10mm headed bolts. It doesn't matter what length they are. Also get the stiffener plate and the 3 8mm headed 1-inch long bolts. Do not get the slightly shorter bolt, which is used for the vehicle speed sensor. This bow hole and this one have smaller diameters than the others and align the gaskets, plate, and valve body. Start the 2 long bolts in them. Place the stiffener plate like so and start the 3 short bolts. Get the 1 to 2 accumulator assembly. We need to disassemble, clean, and reassemble it with a few new parts. Tap it on the bench like so. Clean everything. Check the springs. It's not uncommon to find one or both broken. New ones are available. Set the housing like so and place the springs in. Do not reuse the original plastic piston. This is one of the most common failure areas of the 4L60E. The center of the piston cracks and breaks here. Get a new aluminum replacement like this one. It's much stronger and will not crack. Install a new D-ring into the groove. This ring is the larger of the two left in the kit. Place fluid onto the seal and the piston bore. Push the piston in like so. Get 3 10mm headed bolts to install the accumulator housing. One is 2 3/4 of an inch long. The other two are 1 5/16 of an inch long. Set the housing like so. The 2 3/4 inch bolt goes here. The 1 5/16 inch bolts go here and here. Push the housing down and tighten them finger tight. Tighten the stiffener plate bolts finger tight. Using an adapter and an 8mm socket, torque them to 120 inch-pounds. Change to a 10mm socket and tighten the housing bolts to 120 inch-pounds. Removing the alignment bolts and setting them aside completes this lesson. I'll see you later in Lesson 9 for the valve body installation.